She stood in the doorway of a burning building, holding their 4-year-old son against her chest, and the only man who could have saved her was across the city, laughing with a woman he never stopped loving. Kang Min thought power meant never looking back. He was wrong. The penthouse smelled like gunpowder and expensive cologne. Kang Min stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, Seoul's skyline bleeding neon below him, a city that feared his name. At 38, he ran the most powerful criminal syndicate in South Korea. 3 buildings, 12 districts. One word from him and men disappeared. He was not thinking about any of that. He was thinking about her. Ji Yeon, his first love. The woman his father had ripped from his life 15 years ago. The woman who had just walked back into Seoul wearing a red dress and a smile that still reached inside his chest and pulled. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. 3 floors below the city's noise, in a modest apartment that smelled of shea butter and simmering stew, Elena Kang was cutting vegetables with the focused calm of a woman who had learned to be her own company. She was 33, beautiful in the way that doesn't announce itself. Deep brown skin, quiet eyes, natural hair pinned loosely above her neck. She had a doctorate she wasn't using, a laugh she rarely deployed anymore, and a 4-year-old son named Jay who was currently arranging toy cars in a very specific order only he understood. "Mama," Jay said without looking up, "is Daddy coming tonight?" Elena didn't pause her chopping. "We'll see. Baby." It was the answer she always gave, soft enough to protect him, true enough to not be a lie. Her phone buzzed. Kang Min's assistant. "Mr. Kang won't be home for dinner. Please don't wait." She read it once, set the phone face down, went back to cutting. Outside, Seoul pulsed and roared. Inside, the only sound was Jay's quiet counting and the knife finding the board again and again, steady as a heartbeat refusing to quit. Have you ever been the one waiting at a table that never got full? Drop a comment. This story is for you. The call came at 11:47 p.m., not from Kang Min, from his lieutenant, Rio. "There's a fire at the Mapo complex. Boss, we think it was deliberate. Someone sent a message." Kang Min was already in Ji-yeon's apartment, her perfume on his collar, her hand on his chest. He sat up slowly. She didn't handle it. "Boss." Rio's voice dropped. "Elena and Jay were there. She took the boy to your mother's old unit tonight. The one you still own on the 4th floor." The room stopped. Every sound disappeared. Ji Yeon's voice, the city, his own breathing. "Say that again." "The building is burning, Min. Fire department is 10 minutes out. We can't reach Elena's phone." He was already moving. He drove through Seoul like a man possessed, running red lights, hands white on the wheel. Ji Yeon called twice. He didn't answer. The man who never panicked, who had sat across negotiating tables from killers without blinking, was unraveling at 120 kilometers per hour because his wife and son were inside a burning building, and he had been across the city laughing. He smelled the smoke before he saw the building. 3 floors fully consumed. Residents scattered on the street wrapped in emergency blankets. He shoved through the crowd screaming one word. "Jay." And then he saw her. Elena. Standing at the edge of the chaos, barefoot on cold concrete, Jay pressed against her chest, his small face buried in her neck. Her arm was burned, her dress was torn at the shoulder. But she was standing. She was always standing. Their eyes met across the smoke and noise. Hers were steady. Not relieved to see him, not angry, just tired. The kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. The hospital waiting room was white and humming. Jay had been treated for mild smoke inhalation and was now asleep across 2 plastic chairs, his toy car still clutched in his fist. Elena sat beside him, her burned arm freshly bandaged, staring at nothing. Kang Min sat 3 seats away, the closest she had allowed him. "Who set the fire?" she asked. Her voice was flat. "We're investigating." Was it connected to you? Silence. Kang Min. Possibly. She nodded slowly, the way people nod when they already knew the answer, and just needed to hear it spoken. She looked at Jay. He asked for you tonight. Before we left for the unit, he said, Mama, can we call Daddy? I told him you were busy. Kang Min said nothing. I've told him that 400 times. She turned to look at him then, direct and unflinching. At what point does that word busy start sounding like something else to a 4-year-old? Helena, I'm not fighting with you. She cut him off quietly. I'm too tired, and this is not the place. I just need you to understand that tonight, your son almost died because of a life you chose. And you weren't there. He opened his mouth. She looked away. Back to Jay. Kang Min sat in the humming white silence and felt something he hadn't felt since he was 17 years old, standing over his father's body. Helpless? He pulled out his phone. 3 missed calls from Ji Yan. He stared at her name for a long moment. Then he put the phone face down on the seat beside him. It was the first honest thing he had done in months. When someone shows you who they are through their absence, do you stay or do you go? Comment below. And if this story is hitting different, subscribe so you never miss one like this. The safe house was Rio's idea. Whoever set the fire had sent a message. Until they knew who and why, Elena and Jay couldn't go back to the apartment. The penthouse was too exposed. The safe house in Yongsan was the only option. 3 bedrooms, reinforced doors, 2 guards outside. Elena did not want to be there. She stood in the kitchen the first morning, making Jay's oatmeal with the focused precision of a woman pretending she was anywhere else. Jay sat at the table watching cartoons on a tablet, already adapting the way children do with terrifying ease. Kang Min appeared in the doorway at 7 a.m. He looked like he hadn't slept. There's a coffee machine, Elena said without turning around. I know. Then you don't need me to tell you where it is. He sat down anyway, across from Jay. The boy looked up from his tablet, studied his father's face with those serious eyes, then quietly slid the tablet across the table. You can watch too, Jay said simply. Kang Min looked at his son. I'm 4 years old and already more generous than he deserved. Thank you, he said. His voice came out rough. They sat in silence, the 3 of them, cartoons playing softly, oatmeal steaming. Elena placed a bowl in front of Jay without looking at Kang Min. Then she paused. Set a second bowl down in front of him without a word. He looked at it, then he looked at her back as she returned to the counter. She wasn't forgiving him. He understood that. But she was feeding him. And in Elena's language, which he had spent 3 years failing to learn, that meant something. Elena. His voice was low. Eat your oatmeal, Kang Min, she said. Jay giggled at the cartoon, and for one strange, fragile moment, the safe house felt almost like a home. He found the journal on the 3rd night. He hadn't been snooping. He had gone to the small bedroom to leave a blanket, and it had slipped from the nightstand. A worn navy notebook, pages fanned open. He should have left it. He didn't. Day 47 in Seoul. Jay said his first Korean word today. Yama. Mama. He said it to me and I cried in the bathroom so he wouldn't see. I didn't come here to fall apart. I came because Min needed someone who believed in him when the whole world was a weapon pointed at his chest. I still believe in him. That's the most inconvenient truth I own. He turned pages slowly, carefully, like each one might break. Day 203. He missed Jay's birthday, sent money. Jay doesn't understand money. He understands presents. I'm starting to think Min has forgotten the difference. Day 412. Ji Yan is back in Seoul. I know because he came home smelling like someone else's perfume and looked straight through me at dinner like I was furniture he'd stopped noticing. I didn't say anything. What is there to say? I knew who he was when I married him. I thought love was enough to make him choose differently. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was just in love. Kang Min closed the journal. He sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, holding it in both hands. 214 entries. He didn't count them, but he felt their weight like physical mass. He had a wife who had crossed an ocean for him, learned his language, built a life in a city that didn't always want her, raised their son with grace and steel, and he had looked straight through her. He set the journal back exactly as he found it. Then he sat in the hallway outside her door for a very long time, not knocking, just present, too late, but present. It was Jay who broke the walls down. Saturday morning, he climbed into Elena's bed at 6 a.m., then padded to Kong Min's door and knocked with one small fist until it opened. He looked up at his father with absolute seriousness. "Family breakfast," Jay announced. "I decided." Kang Min looked down at him. "You decided." "Yes, Mama makes eggs, you make juice, I supervise." Elena appeared in the hallway, arms folded, one eyebrow raised. Their eyes met over Jay's head. Something moved between them, not quite a smile. Something older and more complicated. "You heard the supervisor," she said. They cooked together in the small kitchen. Kong Min didn't know where anything was and kept asking. Elena kept answering in clipped, precise directions. But somewhere between the eggs and the orange juice, something loosened. "You're cutting that wrong," she said. "I run a criminal empire." And yet. She took the knife from his hand, her fingers brushing his briefly. Neither acknowledged it. Jay supervised from his chair with great authority. After breakfast, while Jay napped, they sat on opposite ends of the small couch in a silence that had changed texture. Less like a wall, more like weather they were both standing in. "Why did you stay?" Kang Min asked quietly. "All this time." Elena was quiet for a moment. "Because I don't do things halfway. And because Jay deserved a mother who didn't run from hard things." She paused. "But I want you to know, I had a life before you, a real one, and I can have one after." He looked at her. "I know." "I don't think you did," she said gently. "Until now." Ji-yeon came to the safe house on a Tuesday. Kang Min hadn't told her the address, which meant someone in his organization had. He stepped outside to meet her before Elena could see, but it was already too late. Elena stood in the doorway, still, watching. Ji-yeon was beautiful in the practiced way of women who have always known they were being watched. Sharp features, designer coat, the particular confidence of someone who believes she is the main character in every room. She touched Kang Min's arm. "I was worried. You stopped answering my calls." "This isn't the place," he said quietly. "Then when?" "You disappear for 2 weeks and—" "Ji-yeon." His voice was hard. "Not here." But Elena had already stepped back inside. Kang Min followed immediately. She was standing in the kitchen, her back to him, hands flat on the counter. "Elena, how does she know where we are?" "I don't know. I'll handle it." "How does she know where your son is sleeping, Kang Min?" He had no answer. She turned, and he saw it then. Not tears. Elena didn't perform pain, but a fracture. Something that had been holding, finally giving way under too much weight. "I defended you," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Inside my own head, every night. I told myself you were complicated, that the life made you distant, that underneath it you still chose us." She stopped. "I was building a case for a man who wasn't even in the courtroom. I'm here now. You're here because someone tried to kill your son, not because you chose to be." The sentence landed like a verdict. She walked past him to Jay's room. The door closed quietly. No slam. Just a soft, final click that was somehow louder than anything she could have shouted. He sat alone in the dark living room for 3 hours. Rio called. He didn't answer. Ji Yeon texted. He read it once and put the phone down. His empire, his organization, the machinery of fear and power he had spent 20 years building, none of it had anything useful to say to him right now. He thought about Elena's journal. Day 412. I thought love was enough to make him choose differently. He thought about Jay sliding his tablet across the table. You can watch too. He thought about the way she had handed him oatmeal without a word. Not forgiveness, just decency. And how he had mistaken her decency for permission to keep failing her. At 2 a.m., he stood outside her door. He knocked once. Softly. Silence. Elena. His voice came out stripped of everything. No authority, no armor. Just the name of the woman he had spent 3 years taking for granted. I'm not asking you to open the door. You don't have to. But I need you to hear me. He heard nothing from the other side. He continued anyway. I read your journal. I know I had no right. But I read it and I sat with every word and I want you to know. I knew who you were when I married you too. I just got too selfish to act like it. He paused. You crossed an ocean. You learned my language. You raised our son to be better than me. And I looked straight through you. His voice cracked in exactly one place. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know that I finally see you. The way I should have from the beginning. Silence. Then slowly the door opened. Elena stood in the frame, arms folded, eyes clear and searching his face the way Jay had searched it in the hospital, checking for truth. She didn't speak. She just stepped aside. He walked in. Some people have to lose everything before they can see what was always right in front of them. Has someone ever finally seen you? Or did they see you too late? Tell me below. And subscribe. Because this community tells the stories that matter. 6 months later, Seoul was different. Not the city was exactly the same. Loud and glittering and indifferent. But the man standing in Jay's school doorway was not the same man who had stood at the penthouse window, watching the skyline like it owed him something. Kang Min had made 2 decisions the morning after he walked into Elena's room. The first, Ji Yeon was removed from his life cleanly, completely, and without drama. No explanation owed to the public. He simply closed that door the way Elena had once closed hers. Quietly, finally. The second, he began the slow, unglamorous work of choosing his family every single day. Not with money, not with gifts, with presents, with the dinner table, with Jay's bath time and Elena's morning coffee and the Saturday breakfasts that Jay still supervised with great authority. It was not a movie reconciliation. Elena did not fall back into his arms. She was not that kind of woman, and he was learning to love that about her completely. What she gave him instead was something harder and more valuable than romance. She gave him access to Jay's world, to her honest thoughts, to the small daily rituals of a life being rebuilt carefully on terms she set, at a pace she controlled. One evening he came home to find her on the couch, reading, Jay asleep across her lap. She looked up when he entered, said nothing, just shifted slightly on the couch, making room. He sat beside her, close enough to matter. She went back to her book. He looked at his son's sleeping face and felt something he hadn't felt in years, the specific peace of being exactly where you were supposed to be. Elena, he said quietly. Thank you. She turned a page. For what? For not becoming bitter. She was quiet for a moment. I thought about it, she said honestly. Bitterness is just grief that couldn't find the door. She glanced at him briefly. I found the door. He nodded. He understood. Outside, Seoul pulsed and breathed. Inside, a boy slept. A woman read. A man sat still. And for the first time in a very long time, the silence was not empty. It was full. She didn't stay because she was weak. She rebuilt because she was sure of who she was. And that was the thing he had never been able to outrun. The quiet, unshakable certainty of a woman who always knew her worth. Some men learn too late. Some, if they're very lucky and very honest, learn just in time. Before you go, if the story moved you, if you saw yourself in Elena's patience, in Jay's innocence, or even in Kang Min's slow awakening, hit that like button right now and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe, because every week we tell the stories that the world overlooks. The quiet sacrifices, the slow breakdowns, the comebacks nobody saw coming. Now tell me in the comments, do you believe people like Kang Min truly change? Or does it always take a tragedy to make a blind man see? I read every single comment. Every one.